you talk already before you got here. Told him all your trouble. So when we get here, we can concentrate on the word.
That's right. Amen.
It's a wonderful day. Another day the Lord has made for us.
I am on the battlefield for my Lord. I am on the battlefield for my Lord. And I promised him that I would serve him till I die. I am on the battlefield. He's my friend, and
should I feel discouraged? And tell me why should the shadows fall? Why should my heart be lonely and long for heaven and home? But Jesus is my portion.
Yes, He is.
A constant friend is He, and His eye is on the sparrow, and I know He watches me. I said His eye is on the sparrow, and I know He watches me. Why should I feel discouraged? And tell me why should the shadows fall? Why should my heart be lonely and long for heaven and home? But Jesus is my portion, a constant watches me. I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I'm free. Set his eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. Set his eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. I've learned how to live holy. I've learned how to live right. I've learned how to suffer. For if I suffer, I'll gain eternal life. I've learned how to live holy. I've learned how to live right. I've learned how to suffer. For if I suffer, I'll gain eternal life. But when I see Jesus, amen. When I see Jesus, amen. All of my heartaches, all of my troubles, all of my burdens, all of my torments will be over when I see Jesus. Amen. All of my heartaches, all of my troubles, all of my burdens, all of my disappointments will be over when I see Jesus. When I see Jesus. I said, when you see Jesus, when I see Jesus, amen.
Lord, just come thanking you.
Thank you.
For today, we look forward to seeing you. Forget about all of our heartaches, pain,
Pharaoh, we know that you watch us. In fact, you attend the funeral. There is Pharaoh. So we know that you deal with the specifics of what we would consider small and insignificant. But yet you at every Pharaoh's funeral. So we know you're watching us. Pray now you forgive me of my sin. Cleanse me from unrighteousness. Stand in and speak through me. The words of my mouth, meditation of my heart, acceptable in thy sight. O Lord, my strength, my redeemer. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Again, good morning. Good morning. Deacon, preacher, all the family and friends and pastors. Again, it is certainly a blessing to be in the house of the Lord. As I always say, it's good to be seen, not viewed. Amen. Even though one day we all want to be viewed as the Lord is coming. I said the other week, Tracy does such a wonderful job with everybody talking about, oh, he showed up. He did a good job. And that's the body. It's going back to the dirt and dust of the ground.
Yep.
What does your soul? The soul looks good as your body in some cases. We ought to be careful. Spending too much time working on bodies and doing nothing for our soul. Look at a passage of scripture out of Matthew 7, verses 13 and 14. Matthew 7, the New Testament, verses 13 and 14. Matthew 7, verses 13 and 14. Matthew 7, verses 13 and 14. Somebody say, what was that again? Matthew 7, verse 13 and 14. Matthew 7, verses 13 and 14 reads as thus, enter ye in at the straight gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. Because straight is the gate, and narrow is the way, which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. Talk about for a few moments. It's time to make a decision.
All right.
It's time to make a decision. Perhaps there's someone here today who's been contemplating giving your life to Christ. You've tried everything there is to try, and life for you repeatedly keeps coming up empty. You sung the old song we used to sing in a Starlight Band back in the 60s. If you try everything, and everything has failed, try Jesus. And we really have that backwards. We should try Jesus first. Don't have to worry about everything else. If you tried everything, and everything has failed, try. He'll be your only friend. Go with you to the end. If you try everything, and everything has failed, try Jesus. You've thought about giving your life to Christ, and you've even come to church from time to time, but you keep putting off the decision because you want to come straight. You don't want to be a hypocrite. But Jesus wants you to come just as you are. Amen. Maybe you're a Christian already. Maybe you've fallen away for whatever reason. And you have yet to decide to return to the fellowship. You feel that you've got to get some things in order first. And so you delay the decision to return, perhaps due to guilt. You know where you ought to be. You know what you ought to be doing. And you know where you ought to be doing. Wow. But delay, denial have been your downfall. But today is time to make a decision.
Wow.
The Sermon on the Mount that Jesus began in the 5th chapter of Matthew comes to the climax in chapter 7, verses 13 and 14. And the remainder of the sermon is simply an expansion of these two verses. Jesus brings a whole sermon to the climax of a decision. 2 gates bring an individual to 2 roads that lead to 2 destinations populated by 2 different crowds. The Lord focuses on the inevitable decision that he demands from his hearers. Someone has well said that all of life concentrates on man at the crossroads of life. From the time we're old enough to make an independent decision, life becomes a matter of constant decision making. Every day of our lives, we make decisions about all kinds of things.
That's right.
We decide what time we'll wake up, what time we'll eat, or where we'll go and what we'll do. We decide who we'll marry and where we'll live. We choose roads all through life. We decide what college we're going to attend. I remember with jazz, it was just one college, the University of Southern Indiana. I said, Jazz, what about Howard? What about Ball State? No, I want to go to this one. She decided. Joslyn was Loyola, Howard, what's the school in Waco, Texas? Baylor. And all these different, offering different little options. And she ended up at Loyola. But it was a decision. And so ultimately and inevitably, there is a single pivotal choice one must make. A choice that not only determines time, but also the choice that will determine eternity. That is the ultimate choice that our Lord speaks of in Matthew 7, 13 and 14. Many of the decisions in life we make perhaps are trivial and seemingly insignificant. There are others that are essential and life-changing. The most critical of all is our decision about Christ and his kingdom. It's a decision that Jesus here calls for men to make in time. God always brings men to the point of making that ultimate choice. He has always allowed men to choose him or not to choose him. He's always pleaded with man to decide for him or to face the consequences of a choice against him. Since man turned his back on him in the Garden of Eden by eating the forbidden fruit, God has made every effort and spared no cost in attempting to win sinful and lost man back to himself.
That's right.
While Israel was in the wilderness, the Lord instructed Moses to tell the people, I'll call heaven and earth to witness against you today that I've set before you life and death, the blessing and the curse. So choose life in order that you may live, you and your descendants, by loving the Lord your God, by obeying his voice, and by holding fast to him. And that's Deuteronomy 30, 19. After Israel came to the promised land, Joshua confronted the people again with the choice of continuing to serve the Egyptian and Canaanite gods they had adopted, or of turning to the Lord who had delivered them from Egypt, giving them the land promised to Abraham. He says, choose for yourselves today whom you will serve. Joshua's plea. On Mount Carmel, the prophet Elijah asked the people of Israel, how long will ye halt between two opinions? If the Lord be God, follow him. But if Baal, then follow him. Then he commanded Jeremiah to set the choice again before his people. Thus saith the Lord, behold, I set before you the way of life and the way of death. And so here in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus presents still another one of those great choices. This sermon cannot simply be admired and praised. We can't read this and say, oh, Jesus sure said it today. There has to be a decision. No matter how he said it and what manner he said it. Its truths, however, will bless those who accept the kingdom, but will stand in judgment for those who refuse them. It is deadly to admire God's way, but then refuse to accept his way. There are too many in our world today that will acknowledge that, yes, God's way is the right way. But then they'll say they're not ready yet. They'll say, I've got to get myself together first. I don't want to be a hypocrite and be up in church doing what I'm doing. I want to make sure when I go, I'm right. But what they're saying simply is, I'm not willing to give up what I know is wrong. I'd rather hang on to my sin and take my chances than to commit my life to Christ, to let him work out the details of my life. That reminds me of the dog I told you about a year or so ago that grabbed that slab of hot ribs and took off running and wouldn't let him go. And as a result, burned his mouth, his tongue, because he refused to let go of what was burning. And when you refuse to choose God's way, you choose the devil's way. And you kind of hang on to those hot ribs and burn your mouth, so to speak. But then we read in John 10:10 where Jesus says, the thief, which is the devil, comes but for to kill, steal, and to destroy. That's the devil's M.O. He's here to destroy you. He'll tempt you and provide you with everything your flesh longs for in order to keep you in check and to keep you choosing what he has to offer. And what a buffet he has. Money, status, cars, houses, all sorts of illicit sex, power, prestige, more money, crack, heroin, cocaine, PCP, weed, fentanyl, alcohol, influence, lust. And by the way, did I say money? And whatever else tickles your fancy. He offers a smorgasbord of sin. And his desire is to destroy you. Yet there are many who know what the devil's up to, but they'd rather choose wrong than choose right. What's that song back in the day? If loving you is wrong, I don't want to be right. Come on now. Some guys like you don't know what I'm talking about. Ain't been that long ago. Ain't been that long ago. They'd rather choose bad than good. They'd rather choose that which is unrighteous than that which is righteous. And then finally, they'd rather choose hell than heaven. Oprah has confused a lot of people recently with her claim that there are many ways to God. And sadly, because Oprah said it, there are those who believe it that are deceived. There are not many roads to heaven. There's just one. Man cannot come to God in any of the ways that man himself devises, but only in the way that God himself has provided. Yes, sir. The contrast Jesus makes is not between religion and irreligion, or between high religions and lower ones, nor is it a contrast between upright people and vile, degraded ones. It's a contrast between divine righteousness and human righteousness, all of which is unrighteousness. Yes, sir. It's a contrast between divine revelation and human religion, between divine truth and human falsehood, and between God's grace and man's works. Well, from here, though, the rest of the sermon, in verses 13 through 27, Jesus repeatedly points out two things, and that is the necessity of choosing whether to follow God or not, and the fact that there are only two choices. There are two gates, the narrow and the wide. Two ways, the narrow and the broad. Two destinations, life and destruction. Two groups, the few and the many. Two kinds of trees, the good and the bad, which produce two kinds of fruit, the good and the bad. Two kinds of people who profess faith in Christ, the sincere and the false. Two kinds of builders, the wise and the foolish. Two foundations, the rock and the sand. And two houses, the secure and insecure. In all of our preaching, there must be a demand for a verdict. Jesus makes the choice crystal clear in verses 13 and 14. He deals with the first of four contrasts: the two gates, the two ways, the two destinations, and the two groups. So first of all, we want to look at the two gates. Starts off with the word enter. This word is in the imperative and demands specific action. The command is not to admire or to ponder the gate, The command is not to pull out your iPhone and take a picture of the gate and forward it to your Facebook page. The command is to enter the gate. Many people admire the principles of the Sermon on the Mount, but never follow those principles. Many people respect Jesus, but never receive him into their hearts as Lord and Savior. As a result of never receiving the King, they'll never be received into the kingdom, and are such separated from him as the most vile atheists in the world. Jesus' command is not simply to enter some gate, but to enter the narrow gate. Every person enters one gate or another, and that is unavoidable. Jesus pleads for men to enter the right gate, God's gate, the only gate that leads to eternal life. The narrowness of the gate is his own self-declaration. He says in John 14:6 that I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father but by me. He removes all of the confusion about what people ought to believe. Somebody talks about, well, what should you believe? There's so many religions, there's so many this and so many that. But Jesus is the only one that made that self-declaration. Because Buddha is dead. Charles Taze Russell of Jehovah's Witnesses is dead. Joseph Smith of the Mormons is dead. Elijah Muhammad of the Muslims is dead. And they're in the grave. And if you go to their grave site, you will see their bones undisturbed. But Jesus lived and declared, I'm the way. I'm the way. I'm the truth and the life. You can't come to the Father unless you come to me. No one else in history has made this claim. When we preach and teach and witness that Christ is the only way to God, we're not proclaiming our own view. We're proclaiming what he said.
Yes, sir.
We proclaim a narrow gospel because Jesus said, I am the door. If anyone enters through me, he shall be saved. We proclaim a narrow gospel because there's salvation in no one else. For there's no other name given under heaven whereby we must be saved except the name Jesus Christ. Scripture says, for there's one God and one mediator between God and men, the man Christ Jesus. We proclaim a narrow gospel because that's the only gospel that God has given. And that's the only legitimate gospel there is. There's no such thing as what we hear, full gospel. The gospel was full when Jesus rose. It's already full. The person who enters the narrow gate must enter alone. We can't bring anybody else with us and nothing else with us. Heaven doesn't have buddy pass entrance. Some writers suggest that a turnstile represents the idea of a narrow gate. If a group of people are in a hurry to go into a turnstile, they can't go through together. They got to go through one at a time. That's the way it is with this narrow gate, one at a time. If you've ever been to a zoo or train station, or in some airports, the turnstiles you find, they're not designed to permit a crowd to go through. But it's one person at a time. You could cause damage not only to the turnstile, but also to people who are caught between the entrance and access, where there may be perhaps squeezed or even bruised by the pressure of a lot of people. And let me say very quickly that we got to make sure we're not involved in anything that causes the way to the narrow gate to be clogged up. Some of our bad attitudes serve as bottlenecks to the flow of new souls into the kingdom. We've got to do everything we can to make sure it flows unhindered, so that those who are seeking eternal life through Christ will be able to receive him. And we shouldn't be guilty of blocking any portion of the entrance of the narrow gate. If anything, we ought to be redirecting those headed to the wide gate back to the narrow gate. The wide gate is of the world and full of pride and self-righteousness and self-satisfaction. The wide gate is a place of bright lights, and so wide that many can go in at one time. No turnstiles, no restrictions. You can bring all the baggage you want. It won't cost you a dime. There are no rules, no restrictions. And for the young people, you can stay up late as you want, stay out as long as you want. There are no limits and no boundaries, and no one to tell you it's time to go to bed. There's no need to study God's word or pray because you're going the wide way. All you do is have fun. Have fun on your terms. But be warned, in the words of Dr. William Copeland, Pastor Emeritus of the Morning Star Baptist Church of Kankakee, Illinois. He says that fun is fun when you're having fun. But fun ain't so funny when fun has you. And believe me, at some point, fun will turn the table on you. You don't believe me? Talk to the young lady who tried the drug called bath salts. She wanted to have some fun. And now she has permanent brain damage because of bath salts. If you don't believe me, talk to the young ladies who work at the strip club. And afterwards they sell their body to the highest bidders. Fun has caught up to many of them. Now they have sexually transmitted diseases. They have children that they have no idea who or where the father is. And Maury can't even help them. You are not the father. That's been 15-1. Neither one of you are not the father. You are not the father. And on and on and on. And she making a fool of herself because of some things. Have all kind of children with birth defects and diseases. Fun will mess you up for the rest of your life. Master Johnson will tell you he caught AIDS having fun. There's so much fun that this fun caused him to retire and to be on some kind of lifetime medication so he can physically live. He failed to consider his ways, and fun snuffed him out. The writer of Proverbs says that there is a way which seems right to a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. So not only do we see the two gates, but secondly we see the two ways. There are two ways. Matthew 7:13 mentions the broad way. Matthew 7:14, the narrow or confined way. And Psalm 1 talks about them, says, there is the way of the godly, verses 1 through 3. Then verses 4 and 5 talks about the way of the ungodly. And verse 6 gives the result of walking the ungodly way. The choices are the same as they've always been. You either go the way of the godly, or you go the way of the ungodly. The text says that it's the broad way that leads to destruction, and many there be that go therein. The broad way tolerates every conceivable sin. All the desires of the fallen heart can be found on that road. Ephesians 2:2 calls this road the course of this world. On this road there is no overcrowding, but at the same time there is a crowd. It's easy, attractive, inclusive, and permissive. All you have to do is just profess Jesus, but make no real commitment to him. Just say you know him so people think you're saved. Just show up at church from time to time. Talk a little church talk. And then head on home. No sacrifice, no commitment, no interest in spiritual things. Just talk church talk. Somebody asks you, hey, you know, I'm blessed of God. Praise the Lord. Just talk a little church talk. Say something about a scripture or two, but you never studied the Bible yourself. You rather believe the Palladium than believe God's word. The word has been the same and has never changed. The word still talk about tithes and offering. The word still talk about love your neighbor as yourself. The word still talk about put away envy, strife, and malice and jealousy. It still says that. It says the same thing. But you rather believe the Palladium. And we'll have the nerve for people to say, the paper said it. And if there was ever a news outlet with fake news, the Palladium fits the bill. Because the whole lot of stuff they print is not correct. And then when you ask them to correct it, they don't correct it. And if they do, it's on some small section in the back where they corrected something, but very seldom do they correct it. And I'm not anti-Palladium. I used to be a paper boy. But lately, I was told by one of the people one time, because we didn't have some information to let them know about some funding that was going on, that he said, I'll just make up. So I said, you won't just make up nothing. I need to speak to your supervisor. Get his supervisor wasn't no better than him. So they created a story they had to backtrack on. If they just wait 2 days, everything would have been fine. So if there was any fake news, the Palladium fits the bill. But this ain't fake news, this is good news. And it's the same news. It's consistent news. And it still says if you choose to refuse Christ, you're on your way to hell. If you choose to receive it, you can live with him eternally. So this wide way is the broad way of living. The broad way requires no spiritual maturity, no moral character, no commitment, no sacrifice. You just go with the flow. But the narrow way is hard and demanding. The way of self-denial and the cross. The Greek translation of the word narrow literally means to groan, as of being under pressure. The fact that few of those who find God's way give the idea that it to be sought diligently. Jeremiah 29:13 says, and you'll seek me and find me when you search me with all your heart. No one has ever stumbled into the kingdom or wandered through the narrow gate by accident. We must come to the King in humility and with a repentant heart. God's way of salvation is remarkably simple, but it's not easy. We can give nothing or give up nothing that will earn us entrance into his kingdom. A lot of times people talk about, I got to give up this, got to give up that, when really he is the one that's given up everything when he gave up his life. But if you hold on to forbidden things, they can keep you out of the kingdom. That's the reason Jesus says in our text, few there be that find it. We can pay nothing for salvation. Yet coming to Jesus and being his disciple will cost everything we have. The person who says yes to Christ must say no to the world. Because to be in Christ is to rely on his power rather than our own, and to be willing to forsake our way for his. It can cost some things. It can cost some family and friendships. It can cost ridicule and persecution. Because when we identify with Christ, we declare war on the devil. And he declares war on us. The one whom we formerly served now becomes our great enemy. And what's so confusing to me is we have so many who come to church week after week and profess that they're saved, but yet they allow themselves to be used by the enemy and to disturb the body of Christ. Their ways are diametrically opposed to their words. The question all of us must ask ourselves together, which way have I chosen? Which way am I walking in? And the way that I'm walking in, is it a way that pleases God? So we're seeing two gates. We're seeing two ways. But thirdly, the two destinations. Both the broad way and narrow way point to the good life. Salvation to heaven, to God, the kingdom, but only the narrow way actually leads to those. The devil would make you think that this broad way with this crowd is the way to go. There's nothing to indicate that the broad way leads to hell, but the fact of the matter, it does. The devil's too shrewd to show his hand by telling you that this path is going to lead to your eternal destruction. Just like the devil does not have a tail, a fork, and horn. He dresses up in a three-piece suit like Denzel Washington. He dresses up like Beyonce. He don't look obvious with a tail and a fork. He's too cunning to tell you that he seeks your total and absolute ruin. He won't tell you that any other choice than Jesus is the one that will lead you to torment for you. He's not going to tell you that. He's going to have Denzel all up in your ear. What's your name, baby? God says, you like it? Put a ring on it. He ain't going to growl at you. You ain't going to feel no heat when they come near you, other than the heat of his breath. And we got so many people falling for it. Girl, he's so wild. Don't even know whether he's saved or not, but because he's a BMW, black man world. He'd rather you skip the reading in the second half of Psalm 1 where it says, the way of the ungodly shall perish. He don't want you to read that. But God's way, the narrow way, leads to eternal life with him. It leads to everlasting fellowship with him. The destination we have as believers has been prepared by Christ himself. He says in John 14, in my Father's house are many mansions.
Yes, sir.
If it were not so, I would have told you. I go and prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I'll come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there you may be also. Then finally, there are the two groups. Going into the gates, traveling down the two ways and heading for the two destinations, we find two groups of people. Those who go through the wide gate and travel the broad way are headed for destruction. And there are many. The many will include pagan, atheists, and humanists. Every person from whatever age or background or persuasion that has not made a choice to believe in Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. There'll be some who come to church, but they never came to Jesus. They attended the assembly, but spiritually they were absent from the body. They were present on the membership roll, but the name was missing from the Lamb book of life. At the great white throne judgment, they'll claim to be followers of Christ, but God will say to them, depart from me. I don't even know them. But the group that goes through the narrow gate and travels the narrow way has a glorious destination. This group has confessed with their mouth and believed in their heart that the finished work of Christ on the cross. I became part of this group on one cold wintry night in December 1969. On that night, I decided to make Jesus my choice. And ever since that day, Carol Ann, I've had some rough roads. Ever since that day, my daily going gets tough sometimes. The hills are difficult to navigate. The rocks are hard to hold on to. And every once in a while, a rock will break off and I'll slip. But I started out a long time ago. And there's no doubt in my mind, I've decided to make Jesus my choice. You do know that some folk would rather have houses and land. Some folk choose silver and gold. But these things they treasure and forget about their soul. I've decided to make Jesus my choice. The reason I made him my choice is because he made me his choice. And he came down through 42 generations and died in my place. The reason I made him my choice is because he made me his choice when he was buried in a borrowed tomb. The reason I made him my choice is because he made me his choice when he got up with all power in his hands. He took the initiative. He started it from before the foundation of the world. And the result is I love him because he first loved me. Choose this day whom you will serve, says Joshua. He didn't go talk to his wife. He didn't go talk to the children. He didn't go talk to his father-in-law or his mother-in-law, his father or mother. He didn't talk to his pastor. He said, for me and my house, I have made a decision for my house. And what we're going to do, we're going to serve the Lord. Choose Mount Olive this day who you going to serve. And when you check the record, Jesus Christ is the only one who can deliver. He's the only one that can help us out of our sin dilemma. As you all know, Adam is not qualified to help because he had an appetite for forbidden fruit. Abraham is not qualified because he suffered from a lying tongue. Moses is not qualified because he has a murder charge on his rap sheet. Brother Pastor, what about David? Can David help us? David was a man after God's own heart, I agree. But he not only had a murder charge, he had a conspiracy and adultery charge on his record that still ain't cleared up. Samson can't help us. Why can't Samson help us? Because Samson can't even see. He messed around with Delilah and lost his eye. Jeremiah can't help us because he run off somewhere and cried. Brother Pastor, who can help us? Time is running out, and I've got to make a choice. Who can? What about Jose? Well, Jose is busy at the marketplace trying to buy back his prostituted wife. His heart is shattered and his mind is divided. He's in tears as he watches her torn dress, her broken heels and worn stockings being used by other men. His heart is hurting because he smells the saliva of other men on his wife's cheeks. Brother Pastor, who Jonah? Jonah, we ran to him and he ran the other way. What about Ezekiel? Ezekiel said, look, I don't know anything. Matthew and Mark couldn't help us. Peter was too volatile. Paul had too long of a arrest record. But there is somebody I know who can help us. There is somebody. Mama's Proud introduced him to me. Mama's Proud said that all you have to do, son, is say, Father, I stretch my hands to thee. No other help I know. If thou withdraw thyself from me, whither shall I go? Young man, the Bible says, I will lift up mine eyes to the hills from whence cometh my help. My help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. Choose the one that can help you. Choose the one that can heal you. Choose the one that can hold you in the midnight hour. Choose the one that can give you hope. For my hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust the sweetest frame, but wholly lean on Jesus' name. On Christ, the solid rock I stand. All of the ground is sinking sand. All of the ground is sinking sand. Choose, Brother Field, who you serve. I've decided to make Jesus my choice. I decided to follow Jesus, no turning back. I decided to follow Jesus, the world behind me, the cross before me, no turning back. Though no one join me, still I will follow. No turning back, no turning back. I've decided to make Jesus my choice. Make him your choice. Make him your choice. Though no one join me, still I'll follow. Though no one join me, still I'll follow. No turning back. No turning back. Oh, no turning back. No, 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 no. No turning back. I've decided. I don't know about you, but for me and my house, I didn't say that to Donna. Me and my house, we're serving the Lord. So we just say amen. Let's pray and thank you again, Lord, for your word, and pray for those contemplating that it's still time to make a decision, to decide for you. We just pray you touch hearts who the devil is trying to pull and push and plug and touch hearts who are delaying in making the right choice. Touch hearts who you've served a summons on and they refuse to acknowledge. Touch hearts that you may have to arrest and cause things in their lives not to work until they have you on their mind. We just pray that as we leave this place without your presence, that you give us traveling grace. We pray you bless young Aaron who has come for prayer. Continue to keep him wrapped in your arms and the concerns he has, that you would increase his faith by responding to the need that he has, whatever that may be. May the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the communion of the Holy Spirit rest, rule, and abide with us now and forever. Shall we all say together? Amen.